Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Farrah and today's video is going to be my reading wrap-up for December and January. I'm a little bit behind on this, I know. I'll always be behind, but I did still want to make it and still want to let you know what I've been reading, and I am caught up. It's now February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day to you all. And yeah, so let's get started. I only read 3 books in December, so it wasn't a very heavy reading one for me, so I decided to just lump it in with January. So first, I'm going to tell you about my December books. I only read 3, and they were okay. You know, they were all right. So here we go. The first book I have was a book called Peace by Shelley, Sheppard, Gray, and this is part of the Secrets of Crittenden County, book number 3.5. So it's within a series. I haven't read any of the other books before, but because it was a Christmas themed book, I think I picked it up at a little free library this past year. So I definitely wanted to read it now during the Christmas season. And I read it as a physical book. I already gave it away to my mom, so I don't have the copy of it with me. But this was really cute. It was a story about an Amish woman named Bette who worked at her friend's bed and breakfast style inn. And then in walks a man from her past, a non-Amish man who she had a big attraction to. He was very attracted to her, but they never pursued a relationship because of their cultural differences, her being Amish and him not. So he is an agent within the Department of, it has to do with drug control, drug enforcement, I think it is. And he's on the run from some really dangerous people. So he needs to hide out somewhere until, like, of course, the day after Christmas or something like that, when his handlers or his coworkers can come and get him into witness protection or whatever. But it just talks about their experience during that week and the rekindling of their friendship and their love. And it was really sweet. It was very sweet. I mean, it was a very short read. I read it within a week. And I don't know what else to really say. It was romantic. It was cute. And it was sweet. It wasn't anything amazing, but it was just very cozy. The next thing I read was Hercule Poirot's Christmas by Agatha Christie. And this was really good. This was my favorite book of December. And in this one, it's a murder mystery. We're following this family as they get reunited during Christmas Eve. They have a father who has not been very nice. He's not a very nice person, but he has called all of the children together to meet with him for Christmas. And some of them are happy to go, some of them are not happy to go, but they all end up going. Then Christmas Eve, he ends up getting murdered. So Poirot gets pulled in to work with the local police force to try to figure out who did it. It was a closed, locked room murder mystery, and so we know it's got to be someone within this household, within this community. So I really liked it. I really liked the pacing. It wasn't overly Christmassy, I wouldn't say. You don't have to read this during the Christmas season, which is funny because her book Halloween Party had the same thing. It was not very Halloweenish at all, but I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the way that the mystery was being told. I was completely fooled by what happened or who did it. And yeah, it was good fun. So I really enjoyed that one. I gave that one probably a 4-star. Yeah, that was one of my favorites of the Agatha Christie's I've read so far. I also gave Peace about a 4. That was cute too. And then my third book I read was called Purring Around the Christmas Tree. This was by Liz Mugavero. This is also part of a series. It's called the Positively Organic Mystery Series. So again, another series I jumped into not really knowing any background or any of the characters. So for this one, we're following this girl named Kristen who goes by her nickname Stan. And her sleuthing to try to uncover a murder mystery that happened on Christmas. It's a few days before Christmas at the local town tree lighting ceremony. She also just opened up a patisserie for pets. So it's a bake shop that specializes only in creating baked goods for animals and pets. So it has that part of the story as well. And this had the recipe for a great cozy holiday read. It was a cozy little New England town, a dream job of a pet patisserie, lots of cats and dogs. Everybody knows each other in the town. It's a large Irish American community. Everything's in walking distance. There's coffee shops and, parks and this and that. It's just that our main character I just didn't like how the mystery was playing out. It was a lot of repetition. There wasn't, feel like, much plot moving forward. It felt very unrealistic. She started to get kind of entitled and trying to think that she should have access to all these police records and all these details. So I ended up DNFing it probably about the 50% mark, because it was past Christmas at that point, and I just, I didn't have the patience for it anymore. So sadly, this was a miss for me. So those were the books I read in December. Now for January, I started the Read What You Won't challenge, and I only finished 2 of my own books. So my goal is to read at least 3 of my own books every month, but I didn't quite make it. Although I was still reading 2 other books that I own, so they'll carry over into February. So we'll catch up. It'll be okay. So one of the books I really enjoyed was a graphic novel called Garlic and the Witch by Bree Paulsen, and this is book 2 in her 2-book Garlic character series. This is middle grade. This was absolutely adorable. It talks about this little bulb of garlic who's a little farmer. She grows her own little bulbs of garlic, and what happens when she notices some changes happening. She wakes up one morning, instead of having 4 fingers on her hand, she has 5. And so she's worried about what's happening to her, and the witch that cast the spell on her explains that, well, you're growing up, you're going to change into a human. And so it's kind of like a journey to get through the fear of these changes and to accept yourself. And oh my gosh, it was adorable. I absolutely loved it. So cute. Next, I read this little nonfiction vintage nature book called Winter Buds by Bette J. Davis. And it's very short. I think I read it in one night, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It goes through and talks about winter buds and what happens to trees and buds and plants and flowers in the winter. So it's fairly large print, as you can see. It didn't take too long to get through. It was about 60 pages, and it has all these little illustrations in it as well. This was good. It was enjoyable. I would say I don't know if I quite needed 60 full pages talking about winter buds and what happens, but I did learn something and I enjoyed it. So yeah, this was another book that I read that I owned, which is great. And I don't think I will be keeping these 2. I think I am going to be donating them. So it's 2 more books and exiting the house, which is always a good thing. What else did I read? I gotta check my Goodreads because I have... Okay. I also read a book called History Matters by David McCullough. This one I picked up from the library. It was in the new release section, and it was fairly short, and I thought it sounded really interesting. So David McCullough is a very well-known historian whose works include an epic biography of John Adams and Harry S. Truman. And also the book 1776, which I haven't read yet, but I do want to read. And this was a collection of essays, speeches that his daughter actually put together along with another historian. And it really just showcased his appreciation of the different people in his life, his love and admiration of history and what that means and why it matters, basically, as the title says, why we should be thinking about history and why it's important to us to know things that happened in the past. And I just thought it was very, very uplifting. It's very patriotic in a sense. It makes you feel happy to be American, which can be a little bit difficult to do in these times. I'm not going to get political on this channel, but if you know what I mean. So it did kind of renew a sense in me of just some wonderful people in our country, and just how you can enjoy history, even though it's important to read all the negative parts of it as well. So I loved it. I gave it 5 stars just because I felt it was a really uplifting, positive book for me, and I just enjoyed the writing quite a bit. And it makes me want to read more books by him for sure. I read a ton of nonfiction in January actually as well. So I also listened to an audiobook called Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking. And this is by Susan Cain. This was almost a 5-star for me. I really, really enjoyed it. I personally feel as though I am quite an introvert, but I feel like I'm kind of a social introvert because I do like to get out and I like doing things. I do really enjoy meeting new people. I enjoy talking to people, but I'm somebody that enjoys deeper, more meaningful conversations rather than small talk. I hate small talk. And I'm in a phase in my life where I feel like I have to do a lot of that. All these sports events I go to, all these activities with my kids that I'm talking to other parents, and I have to kind of keep a conversation going. I do struggle sometimes. I'm definitely the person in the conversation that prefers to be the listener. I love chatty people because then I feel as though I don't have to keep up the conversation. I'm more of a conversation filler. So it's been something that I've always been aware of. I come from a very, very extroverted family. A lot of people in my family are extremely friendly, extremely outgoing. Wherever we go, they're talking to everybody. They're making friends all over the place. And I always felt so much shyer than all of them. I would say even within my three other siblings, I'm probably the quietest one of us. And I was always a little self-conscious of it. I felt like invisible sometimes in certain situations, but this book really helped me to feel like it's great and it's okay to be an introvert. And in a lot of different cultures, that's actually more valued than being a charismatic person that lights up the room, that everybody's so excited to be around, and a great storyteller. And I do appreciate these people and I love these type of personalities, but it's also nice to be around quiet people and people that don't feel like they need to fill up the whole room with stories and conversations. So it really got into the biology of why people are more introverted versus extroverted. It did some case studies about relationships between extroverts and introverts. And of course, there's such a spectrum on that. There are extroverts that love to be home. There are extroverts that love to read. A lot of you guys on BookTube are extroverts, but you love your quiet time, your alone time. And I'm kind of the opposite of that as well. I love my alone time and my quiet time, but I also crave being around people and seeing stuff and that kind of thing. So it was really fascinating. I really enjoyed it. So that was a great audiobook to listen to. And the woman who did the audiobook was amazing. She had the best voice for that type of book for sure. Okay, so another nonfiction book I got from the library this month, this is another newer release, is called No New Things, A Radically Simple 30-Day Guide to Saving Money, the Planet, and Your Sanity by Ashlee Piper. This was great. Now, I wasn't planning on completing her 30-day guide, so I read the first part, and then when you get to the actions, I kind of skimmed through that part. But the message was loud and clear. It really brought a lot of awareness to me about the act of consumerism and the history of it and how it came to be and how its marketing is so focused on women. Women make up I think 70 to 80% of the world's spending is women buying a bunch of shit, basically. And it really made me take a look at that and to really double check myself, do I really need this? Do I really need to bring any more material things into my house? Do I really need to have this when this is already working? And it just little things like where you donate clothes, these clothing bins that are so easy to just dump off. I mean, a lot of these clothes just go to these underdeveloped countries that don't need them and they end up in their landfills. And so it's about thinking about your choices in life and how you can make a difference, even if it's a little difference, how you can save so much money by not buying all these things. And it was great. I really enjoyed it. I think it should be required reading for everyone, to be honest. Oh, it was good. It was really good. I will say one thing about this book, though, is that she uses a lot of colorful language throughout it, which I did find was funny. But if you're somebody that doesn't appreciate that in your audiobooks or your physical books, just be aware that she's dropping F-bombs and she's, laying it out thick. So that was one thing. I personally didn't mind it, but I can see how other people can be offended by some of the things she said. All right, and another thing that I listened to that I absolutely loved was Daphne du Maurier, a collection of short stories called The Doll and Other Lost Stories, I think. And this was fantastic. Short stories can take me a little while to get through because sometimes I lose steam or interest with them. But this one was good. I read it throughout December and January. Some of the standout stories to me were, it was one called The Doll, which is what the title is. There was another one called The Happy Valley, which had Manderley vibes big time. That was great. There was also one called Tame Cat. I don't know. I think what I thought was so fascinating about this book was that Most of her short stories were focused on relationships between a man and a woman and love. And I feel like she really captured the bitterness that could happen, or the doubt, or the things that can go wrong, for such a young writer at the time, because I think these were all stories she wrote in her early 20s, with the exception of maybe the last one called The Limpet. I think she wrote these all when she was very young, and I just was blown away by her ability. I think she's such a talented writer. She's so good. The audio narrator for this was fantastic. I listened to it as audio, and then afterwards I bought the ebook because I loved it so much. And she did a fantastic job of narrating it. I thought some of the stories maybe felt a little bit of the same, but for the most part, a lot of them were different. There's one thing that she does, though, and she was very young, but I think she really supported a patriarchal society. So I feel like some of the ways she portrayed women were not in the strongest light, and it made women come off as weak and inferior. I did kind of get that feeling through some of these stories, but I do try to remember that she's a product of her time and what she knew and what her beliefs were, but it did kind of seep through in the writing, I felt. Still very well done, very interesting. I'm not saying she was an anti-feminist, but it did seem like she was bringing to light. Maybe that's what she was trying to do, was kind of satirize. So I don't know, maybe she was just trying to poke fun or bring to light some of these viewpoints, but it's just something I was very aware of it when I was reading that. I'm just like, she's not treating her ladies very well in these stories. They don't have the best outcomes. But overall, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to reading more of her short stories in the future and more of her novels as well. Yeah. Another nonfiction book I read, I listened to this as audio, and then later when I was done, I bought the physical book. So even though I'm doing the Read What You Own challenge, one of my caveats is that if I listen to an audiobook all the way through and I like it, I can buy the book because I've already read it. But this one is called You Never Forget Your First, a biography of George Washington by Alexis Coe. And I did this actually as a buddy read with my friend Mark from the channel BookTime with Elvis. And I had mentioned to him that I was interested in doing a read through of the US presidential biographies. I'm helping my daughter out with a lot of her U.S. history homework this year. She's taking the AP course, and it's been very challenging for her since she's not a history lover. And so I've been learning a lot, and it really got me interested in learning more about our U.S. presidents. So this was the first one we picked up. And this was great because it was... I liked how she told his biography. It definitely wasn't hero worshipy, which I've heard can happen sometimes with these biographies, especially with someone like George Washington. But I feel like she did a good job of dispelling some of those myths and talking about his failures as well as his accomplishments. And I just found it humorous. I found it informative, and I really liked the writing. I liked how the biography came together. So I really enjoyed this one. So heading along that path, I also picked up and listened to, from the library, the John Adams one. This one is called First Family, Abigail and John Adams by Joseph J. Ellis. And this one I liked because it was on the shorter side and it had to do with Abigail as well. So this book focused on the relationship between John and his wife Abigail and the letters that they shared together. And what was fascinating about their relationship is that they wrote so many letters to each other that there is a ton of information for historians to pull from and to conclude about their relationship and their life. And these two were absolute besties, soulmates. She was extremely intelligent. She was very well written, and she was very well spoken. And so they consulted with each other on a lot of different things. They had a really interesting relationship. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was very well written. The audio narrator was a woman, which I enjoyed because I don't know, it's just nice to hear these done by a female voice sometimes. I don't know. We just don't get a lot of that. So I really enjoyed this. John Adams was a fascinating person in history, and it really has kind of whirled me down into this revolutionary founding father rabbit hole that I feel myself in now. I ended up watching the musical 1776, which I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen that, but it was done, I think, in the 60s or 70s, and I loved it. It was so fun and it was so good, and it talked about the Continental Congress and the trying to convince everybody to vote for independence, and it talks about the states that were opposed to it and their reasoning behind it. It was fun to see these characters come to life. It was fun to see Benjamin Franklin portrayed. He was just funny and witty, and it has inspired me to read his biography, which I'm reading right now, or I just finished that actually for February. Oh, my legs are stiff. Thomas Jefferson, of course, was kind of portrayed as this heartthrob, and I really enjoyed the musical. So I'm just enjoying my time with the founding fathers at this moment. And yeah, so those were the books that I ended up reading for December and January. Fantastic start to my reading year. So many of those books I mentioned were 5 stars, and I'm excited to see where I go from there. So I will be back soon, hopefully, with another video. I didn't really do any kind of vlogging this past month since my Christmas one, so we'll see. I just haven't had a lot of time to film, as you can tell, but we'll see. Hopefully I can get back into it, but it's been a long winter. Hopefully we're getting closer to spring, and I hope you guys are all doing well. So thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your day. Take care.